Hello and welcome back to Scriptcase by Jamie. And of course, I am Jamie. So today, in today's video, we are going to start to plan and prepare for a project that we will be developing right here on this channel, Scriptcase by Jamie. Okay, so let's dive in, shall we? Okay, so I use a variety of tools for my project planning. And because I haven't really decided exactly what this project is going to be yet, I thought I would start with one of my basic tools that I like to use. Or I say it's basic, but it's not really basic because you can actually do quite a lot with this and create some really nice, fun looking, engaging and nice content. And you may also be able to hear the birds in the background because yes, I do have the door wide open. It's a beautiful day, so I do apologize for that. But yes, fresh air is very important and there's really no need for that air conditioning just yet. Not unless I close the door, because then I will just cook in here alive. And well, I don't think we want that. And if you do, well, comment, let me know. And no, I won't do that. Okay, so we want to start off today with a project. And as you see, I've already created a few pages here. I have this page, which is the idea page. A requirements page so that we can just jot down what is required. I have then also for the storage, what's important for the database. A sitemap, so we have an idea of what pages we want to have to interact with what. And then also some pages for processes, because usually it's a good idea to plan those out so you know what happens. And of course, how you do things is entirely up to you, and we will be moving to other tools as we continue on within this series of videos, I shall say, because yes, this will be a series of videos, and this is video 1. And we're going to dive straight in. So what are we going to be creating? Well, that is the question, of course, because we could be creating just about anything. But what does every single platform tend to have? Well, I can tell you it would be a client management area where you generally have your clients and client companies that they are related to. So I think we shall start there, shall we? And we can then work out where it goes as we continue on within the series. So we'll create this part and then maybe add something to it later on. But we've got to start somewhere, so let's start here, shall we? Okay, so then I will just grab here my text tool, and I really do not like that font. So let me choose a different font here. And I shall go here with Lilita 1. That looks nice. Okay, so let's take that and just indicate what we're doing. So customer and company management. Okay, so that's where we're going to start. And yeah, that font really does not go with what we've got here already. So let me pick something else here. See, that's the thing. We can just take our time and do whatever is fun here, because that's what we want to do, of course, make it a bit more fun. So we have then our customer and company management. So that's what we are going to start with. And what do we need for a customer and company management section or area or portal or platform, whatever it may end up being? Okay, because one of the great things about Scriptcase, of course, is that you can import content. You could use this and then use it within another project as a starting point or as an end point or whatever point you like. You can place it in there and you can reuse this content. Well, you could if you was a Scriptcase by Jamie member, because only then would you be able to download the project. Or of course you can follow along from beginning to end, and then you can of course create it yourself, following along without the project files. So if you want the project files, well, you will need to become a member. But for now, let's continue on anyway, because we want to continue with this project. Okay, so we have then our project requirements. And we have customers and we have clients. So what do we need to do? We really want to store, first of all, store customer or client information. Okay, and then we also want to store the company information. Okay, so I might type a little odd because I'm typing to the side, so I hope it's okay. It's really just reflexes here on the keyboard going along. Okay, so here we have then, we want to store then our customer and client, or customer client information, or of course you could store the two of them if you like. You could have your customer information and your client information. That is entirely up to you. So in that case, we would have to create an extra table, but we'll get to that in a moment. Okay, so then we will also want to store our company information. Okay, so with that knowledge, we then need to decide on what do we want to store from each of these. So I could then basically split this up, which I can't right now because I've just placed it into one box. But in general, we will have some defaults for each one, and we will have some separation between them. So let's create some separation here. Well, if I could create some separation now, let me delete that, come back into here. And there we now have some separation there. And okay, so now we have our store, customer, and client information. And we also want to store our company information. So let's get some new text here. And let's change that to railway, nice and small, because we want to store some defaults first of all. So we have our defaults, which would then be the name, the address maybe. Okay, it's for customer client, so name, address, country, and maybe postcode. What else would we want? We want, of course, the email address, maybe the date of birth, and then maybe a photo. Okay, so there we have our defaults for this already, and we have that then already, logged down. So then we know what they are. And for our company, let's get those defaults as well. So our defaults there would be the name of the company, the address, because you generally want to know where they are, country as well. Again, let's also take the postcode again. So for the Americans, of course, postcode is zip, right? Because that's your area code in the UK. And of course, that would be then your zone, we could say, or your box. However we want to really put it, or however they want to phrase it. Okay, so name, address, country, postcode, and then what else would we want for the company? Maybe the tax number, so that would be good, or VAT number, or whatever it is. And maybe have the phone number. Phone number is always good. And I like to have also a support email address. So generally you go to their website and you can find a support email. So let me add that in there as well. And then that is something I would generally like to keep of the company. And let's add one more thing in there. Let's also add the logo. Okay, so for those, they would be then default fields. Let me default, capitalize that here. And of course, we could then list that if we wanted to and whatever else. But as they are defaults in both, like so. Okay, so then we have defaults for both of these. We have defaults for our customer and client information. And then we also have defaults for our company information. Now, it's generally good to decide those sort of things before you go off and start creating your Scriptcase application. So with our default set, we have for the customer client information, we're storing then the name, address, country, postcode, email, date of birth, photo. And then for the store company information, we have then the defaults, name, address, country, postcode, tax, phone, support email, and logo. Now, of course, we could store more fields. We could store more data. And I think that's always a funny question. Whenever you ask a client, for instance, what fields would you like to store? And they always imagine that you would include all of the fields in the world. I don't know if I think that's sometimes what it is, because they just generally think you know the fields automatically, when of course you can add any type of field, store any type of data, and well, okay. So let's continue anyway, because I always think that's an interesting one. But for now, let's continue here with our information. So we have here now our default set. Let's then continue on and continue and think of other fields that we would want. So for our store, customer and client information, as well as our store company information, there will also be some default fields which we have between them. For instance, we have here name, name, address, address, country, country, postcode, postcode, usually tax, tax, and email, email, and you go on. So you could have replicated fields. Now, in other cases, you may want to have original fields like we have here, the logo. So it's a completely separate field. Now, I would not generally put those down as a default. I would add one default, and that would then include, say here, the name, address, country, postcode, email, and that's it, maybe, and maybe a couple more address fields. And those would then be the default fields for all of these tables. So we could split that up now and do that, but I'm going to try and save you guys some time. You can just imagine that. And then, of course, we would have the extra fields, which would then essentially be here the support email and the logo and the extra fields that I'm going to add now. So I want to add also, or store, should I say, every time the customer or client information has been added. So add dates, I want to add an add date. And then I also want to store when it was updated. So an update date. So let me include those two fields here. So let me add there actually additional. And I guess I could also capitalize that also. And there we have then some additional fields. Now, I may want those also here for the store company and information. So let me add those there also so that I can keep track of when the company was added and when it was last updated. So from there, then we have then our initial fields. Now, we want to, of course, add those basically. So if I come here, let me just copy this, because that will save us again some time here. If I copy that and come here to our storage, we have then already our initial database fields defined. So this is basically what I will be wanting to store also within the database. Okay, so that is of course important. And knowing that information before you start your project, and even before you start your database, because you see, I haven't even created the database yet. And when we come to the database, you will see that, well, there are many options or many ways on how you can actually create that database in the first place. So during the majority of Scriptcase videos, you'll tend to find that we always use MySQL. And now lately, with the addition of the SQLite option or default database within Scriptcase, we've also started using that because, of course, it's there. We can just click it, generate it, and we have some default fields and tables to work with and show you how Scriptcase works. But here, of course, well, I don't have defaults really. I'm going to be creating those. Or should I say, I have those available over on ScriptcaseByJamie because there are quite a few defaults there already, and of course there'll be many more added as time goes by. That's the whole idea. But in this case, well, we need to start from here, from scratch. Okay, so we of course need to know then our database type and what type of database are we going to store our project in. And yes, I'm going to use MySQL, and I guess you're going to say, I knew it, and that's okay. And I totally open for using other databases within the video. So if you want me to show specific database and setup or so on, let me know within the channel. Give a comment. Just, say something. You don't say something, I can only guess. And then at that point, I will take my time coming to it because, yeah, there's much to do. There's so much to do. Okay, which is awesome. Let's continue, though. Let's see then. Next up, we then would also want to think of our sitemap. Now, we could leave this really for our front end development, but in reality, it's also good to have that within the back end, have some idea of what's going to be happening, or, where you want everything to go to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use here the laptop here as our starting point. So we could say this is essentially our menu. And let me add then some text here. So that's clear. or should I just add menu in there? And I'm going to change that to Baby Boston and reduce the size of that. And let me group that then also. So then I can group that, and now I can just move that as one, which is really cool. And really now this here is our menu. And what we want to then have, of course, is then our clients section as well as our company section. So let me see, what do we have here? So infographics, let's go here with the head and brain, or thought as it's called. And there I also want to use here now the light bulb. So what will represent what, I wonder? So the idea here will represent the clients, and the thought one here will represent the company. And let me add some text to that also. Let's reduce the size of these a bit more first, so that they are more in line of what we want. And then we can add some text here, clients, and another one we want, companies. Okay, so like that, then we can see straight away this is our companies, this is our clients. So I'll group them again also, so that way I can move them around and move all of it like so. Okay, so of course our menu will come from here, and that will come over here to our clients. And our clients, well, that will depend. So let's add another line here, and that will come over here to our companies. Now, we will want our clients and companies, of course, to be joined together. And this is an important process that, of course, we will look at when we come to the database section of this training, or of this, whatever you want to call it. And we will start to look at how we can then store that information without killing one another, really, because yeah, that's what you could end up doing. By using the wrong sort of structure, you could really kill your portal right from the beginning. You may as well just give up. Just stop straight away, because yeah, it makes a big difference. Having the right type of database, having your data structured correctly, will make a big difference to the future of your project, your platform. Okay, so that is very important to note, because I could grab here my clients and companies and stick them both in one table. Who cares? Everything's great and it looks beautiful. But no, it doesn't, and it wouldn't be beautiful. And then, of course, I could use maybe an old style technique, and that would be to link the company directly to the client every time I create a client. And that is also, well, not really the best way to do it. But we'll discuss that when we come to the database part of this. And then, of course, we'll see. And I'll explain it to you. And hopefully you'll understand it, learn from it, apply it, and of course, well, create some amazing projects within Scriptcase. Okay, so we have now our menu here, our clients and our companies. So for both our clients and our companies, we will want some forms. So let me see if we have some objects here we can use for our forms. So I guess I can use this one here, the checklist for the grid. That's a nice one. And let me find another one for a form. And let me do that here, the pencil. Let me use the pencil. So pencil will be forms, and here the checklist will be a grid. Okay. And again, what I will do is I will add here some text, form, and let me add another one, grid. Okay. And then I'll drag here the form over here. Let's place that there like so. And the grid, well, that can come underneath like so. Right, so we have then our form element and our grid element. And what I'm going to do then is, of course, copy the form, because we will want that here for the companies as well as the grid. And we will also want that over here for the companies. Okay, so now that we have established our initial applications, and of course we could, link them together if we wanted to. And yeah, let me just use these default lines here. And I need another one. And I need another one here. like so. And there we have our initial so-called sitemap, right? And of course, well, you may imagine it's a lot more than that, because really, let me change here the lines. Let me add some dots in here, and these sort of dots. And what I'm going to do is change the color, and I want to increase the hand-drawn effect because I really like that. Okay, so then here from the menu, that would essentially come here to the form. That would also come here to the form, and that would also then come here to the grid, and that could then also essentially come here to the other grid. Now, that is one way, because, well, it depends, because really we have our form. That here is, yeah, I'm going to continue lines again. So let me change here the color again. Let me go orange, and let me go arrows this time, because yes, we have arrows. This will come here, and the grid again also on this side will also come here to the form. Right, so that is really our structure here, the menu to the grid, maybe not here to the form, so we could actually delete this one, because the menu would essentially just come to the grid application and then link to our form, back and forth for the editing and inserting and so forth. And they are then essentially our initial sections or areas of the platform that we will be developing. So yes, pretty easy, you may be thinking. Well, if it was that easy, it wouldn't be 20 minutes of already just talking and discussing and planning this little thing, because I've actually spent a little time in the background planning this one out. In fact, this is probably my third recording on this. The first time I'm using this to showcase. In the previous videos, I had actually used mind map tools and some of the other tools I used, but I thought I would leave those for later. And well, this is actually turning out quite nice. So I hope you guys are enjoying. Of course, we're not finished yet. We still have a little planning here to do. And then once this is finished, then we can jump, of course, into our database builder, MySQL workshop, which will be within the next video, I'm afraid. And there we will then have a look at the database development, the construction and design of that, only now for this client and company management section that we have started now here on this channel. So we will have some processes, but for now, well, we don't really have to worry about those. We really have to get on and create these initial applications, create this database, and then when we have our form and grid applications together, well, maybe we will want them to do something more than just store data. Okay, but that is something we will have a look at within another video, of course. So for now, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed, and I will be back in the next video where we will continue with this, and we will then, of course, look at also the database. So thanks for watching, and until the next video.